everyone, and welcome to another episode of Red Valkyrie Presents. I'm, of course, Shae the Red, little pinker than normal. And I have my awesome co-host, literally arm's length away. This is CY. How are you, CY?
Awesome. Thank you for asking.
Of course. And we're here with the very talented Charles Santino. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. So we're here because of your comic. Is it Rammur?
That is pronounced correctly.
Yes! I'm happy that I did. So before we go into what your pitch is, we want to watch your video.
Excellent.
Alrighty, here we go.
That is awesome. I really like the giant statue that's all Egyptian looking.
Yeah, that's Dominatrix. She's the big sister of the police state. She may or may not. She may or may not be a real person. We see her image everywhere, though. Statues, propaganda posters. She's even on the money.
Oh wow. I mean, if you got an attractive female, you might as well, right? Just put her on everything.
It's better than George Washington.
All right. Why don't you let us know, Charles, what Rammur is about?
Yeah, he's a master thief in a future police state. That's a 7-word elevator pitch, maybe the shortest in entertainment.
That is a very short pitch, yes.
Takes place in the future. I never say when. It's sometime in the future. I don't know if it's 100 or 1,000 years. But there's a one-world...
It could be 10.
There's a one-world government called the GFA, the Global Freedom Authority. They run everything. And being a master thief or any kind of thief in a police state is a little bit difficult, even more difficult than under normal circumstances. And what you're seeing here is a museum heist. It's the first scene. And he's been hired to rob a statue from a exhibit of banned art. People who know history will remember that Hitler had a exhibit in the 30s in Berlin of degenerate art. He wanted to show the public what was terrible. Of course, mostly by Jewish artists. And so this is kind of a takeoff on that idea. And the two guys there, they found out that Rammur was going to be here, and they thought they would rob the goods themselves, and it doesn't work out too well for them.
Doesn't look like it worked out too well for the statue.
No, so Rammur's he's in hot water now. He's actually taken an advance on this, and so he's got to tell the person who hired him that things didn't go quite as planned, and he also damaged one of his wrist blasters. So he goes to the guy who fixes his stuff, his mechanic, and after that he gets followed by police cops, the Ruptors, and he can't figure out how they got on him so fast. He suspects that somebody is an informant, and that's the plot twist, and the rest of the story is him trying to stay alive and trying to figure out who ratted him out.
Well, a little crazy glue, you know.
Sure, it'll be fine for the priceless artifact.
Yeah, restoration, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody will know.
He just made it a DIY deal. That's all it is. It's fine.
Well, it's now more statues. Even more abstract.
A bunch of little statues.
Yeah, even more abstract.
Exactly. So he can fly in a sense.
Yeah, he's got leg jets and wrist blasters. They are powered by a fusion reactor, a compact fusion reactor on his back, and on his chest is a ram scoop that it's under that shirt that sucks in hydrogen atoms. So he's the first hydrogen-powered comic book character. Clean energy for people who care about such things.
I mean, yeah, when you're blowing smoking holes in cops,
Yeah,
it's important that you do so.
it's important that what powers
eco-friendly.
you is clean energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anybody asks, well, isn't a compact fusion reactor, isn't that kind of ridiculous? Well, is it any more ridiculous than a guy who was bitten by a radioactive spider?
Yeah, that is a fair point.
Or an
This
arc
is-
reactor implanted in your chest.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is comics.
This is very accurate. I just like that it's the good/bad guy because he's like a thief. But he's
Yeah.
like, let's just have some clean energy for me to fly though.
Yeah. We're not too sympathetic though for everybody else in the story because most of the people that he's robbing, he's not rolling hobos in an alley for dimes. He's robbing, people who are connected to the state, cronies that are connected to the state. So, yeah, he's a bad guy, but most of the people, his enemies are worse than he is.
I'm just noticing her little bit of paraphernalia
Her
there.
hookah, yeah. Now, I've been asked about this. They say, what's in that hookah? I am assuming that it is not pot because I don't think Rammur would want somebody working on his gear that's high. So I'm assuming it's tobacco.
Oh, is she the mechanic that's fixing his blaster?
She is the mechanic's apprentice. The mechanic is not home. He comes home and finds her fixing his gear, literally fixing his gear. And he's not too happy about that because he doesn't think she's skilled enough. So
Right, 'cause she's just some kid.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't want the scrub. He wants the master.
well, Rammur's actually okay with her doing the fixing, but it's the master that gets pretty upset when he comes home and finds out what's going on and shoos her off to the back room.
Who let you out of your cage?
Keeping her under the thumb. He wants the apprentice.
Yeah, and that turns out not to be such a great idea to get on her bad side because
It's
she
usually not.
payback is a bitch, as they say.
Yeah, when you have girls that are interested in things like tinkering and, that have
explosives and
and that have Kichi colored hair, like, they're usually not the people that you want to mess with. Those are usually the ones that get very creative in their revenge.
And the kind of a reveal, she is going to be a continuing character.
Oh, good. I like her. If you couldn't tell, I'm a fan. Shane says that he just arrived to see cool art. It looks like something that would fit in a Saturday morning cartoon slot because of the art style. I agree.
Yeah, it's a little too maybe PG-13 plus for Saturday morning. It's a soft R or a hard PG-13. Any sex is off stage. The violence is a little bit of blood here and there. There's the cussing might be a hell and a damn, but he's a bad guy.
So in other words, we're talking Adult Swim territory.
Exactly.
Nice. I'm down for that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of
I
like
would
the
watch
Venture
this.
Brothers, only cranked up a little bit more as far as intensity.
Yeah, and I've done all the hard work for them. All I have to do is look at this and I go, we see the art style, we see the kind of stories. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
really neat architecture in your city too.
Yeah, the artist is Paulo Perez. He is in Brazil, and I found him online, reached out to him. He was available, and we've been working together now for a couple of years. He's finished the second story, and just started
Awesome.
work on the third. The art, he does the coloring, the pencils, the inks, everything.
How quickly are you thinking that book 2 will come on the heels of this?
It depends. It could be a little while because I'm hoping to use some of the funds from one to get 2 out there.
Gotcha.
But the heavy lifting is done. It's the main story for number 2 is penciled, ink, and colored, just not lettered yet. This is the splash page of the backup story, done by the guy who did the video, Marco Perugini, using Paulo's art. And he's an artist in his own right. This is his backup story, 6 pages. You'll see Dominatrix in the background there, otherwise known as Dami. Now that woman under the bridge, she's following Rammur because she was at a meeting of a bunch of thieves who were plotting a heist, and Rammur didn't really like the idea too much. It involved too many people, so he left, but she's convinced that he's going to go do it by himself. So she's following him, and that's not a good idea.
I'm really enjoying her swimwear.
Well, it's really hot. That's why she's dressed that way.
Super hot. So she's like, I need a cutout belly area, but
Yes.
I'm not so confident on the love handle side. So we
Exactly.
just keep that covered.
Well, now
I
she's
feel
going to
like-
get belly rope burn. Look at that.
Yeah, she is. That's why you don't follow around a thief.
Poorly. You don't fail your sneak roll.
I also love that she's got that little trail. Like she's trying to like cover her butt up a little bit, be a little bit more conservative, despite being in this like one piece. Yeah.
And when Rammur is wearing the red shirt, that means he's off duty.
Oh, okay.
He thought he was off duty.
Oh yeah.
And he didn't bring his gear to this either. He's not wearing the gear because he felt that it might be a little too imposing, a little too threatening to the people he might be working with. But it doesn't mean he doesn't have a weapon.
Well, I mean, I would expect him to have, like I'm off duty. I only have my daggers that are in my sock and like my hunting knife that's on the back and a small pistol. That's all.
You figured that out. Yeah.
Is this a bag of money? Is that what the TS is?
Yeah, and that symbol is the symbol for their currency, which is the Tolar, TOLAR.
Okay.
And I actually had the people who do the font, the people who created the font that we bought to use do the lettering, actually added. They're adding this symbol to the characters. I didn't want to use I didn't want to use credits for the money of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's been done a million times. And if you use dollars, well, then it's not really the future. And the word dollar actually comes from the German word Thaler. And so I adapted that a little bit and turned it into the Tolar. I subsequently found out it was an actual actual currency of an Eastern European country until they went to the euro in 1992. I think it might have been, I don't know if it was Lithuania or whoever.
And there goes Cy looking it up.
Slovenia.
This is a tryout. Oh, you looked it up, Slovenia.
Yes.
This is a tryout page that Paulo did. I called this Aspects of Rammur, just showing a little bit of what he's all about.
Now, was this adapted into one of the other characters, or is this another female character in the book?
She's just an anonymous a female for that panel.
So in other words, you're saying that Rammur is all about being a badass that can fly, robbing, getting women, and shooting worse guys than him.
That's about it. Yeah, he's got 2 things on his mind: money and women, in that order, because he figures the money will get him the women, but it
Right.
rarely works the other
Women
way
aren't getting you
around.
money.
No.
Women are helping you be relieved of money.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
You've got too much. Okay, so what is this promotional giveaway?
Yeah, if people go to my Facebook page. They can get a free 19-page digital book that has a couple of complete stories in it and preview pages, and that cover will also be in number 1 as just like a pinup page.
Awesome.
I see. What'd you call her? Dami.
Dominatrix, nicknamed Dami.
She's just everywhere.
That is an interesting flag.
I designed that flag, and I'm going to use it in some merchandise. It's the flag of the GFA, the Global Freedom Authority. It's as creepy as they are. And somebody suggested to me, they said, now I looked at every flag I could find to make sure I wasn't imitating a flag. Mm-hmm. And then somebody said to me, you should probably check out the flags of the terrorist groups. You want to make sure it doesn't imitate one of those. So I looked it up. I found a catalog of flags of terrorist groups. And it doesn't imitate any of them, although it does come closest, not too close, but the closest to the PLO flag, unfortunately.
You know what flag it does come close to? Shae, I'll have you Vanna this.
Oh my gosh. I disagree, but this is what Cy's getting at.
Well, same, different colors, but
yep.
But stripes, horizontal stripes.
All horizontal stripes with the white stripe.
And it's 5 bars. Yeah, exactly. Yep, I don't recognize it as any other one, and I was pretty decent in geography.
What is it? Flexology or something weird like that? The study of
the
flags.
Specific study of flags? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a name. It's used on the Big Bang all the time, but I can't
Yes!
remember.
Yeah. So
fun with flags.
When we did our last stream, that was on while we were getting makeup on in the background at the hotel. So.
And it was his initial stream of fun with flags. That's why it hit my head.
Take 42.
Now somebody suggested that I make a patch out of that. They said that patches are very popular.
On this show, they are.
Is that true?
I love patches with a passion. We also have a guy that we've gone through before and that we recommend for other people. He gives us 0 kickback, but they're a smaller company in the U.S. and they do a phenomenal job. And they're not very expensive.
I'll be in touch about that.
I'll be sure to send you the information.
Yeah. Let's scroll back up a little bit. That's just the table of contents.
And
we can go down again.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is the propaganda poster. This artist is in New York City. His name is Matt Chick, and my daughter saw his art. She lives in New York City. She saw his art in the Strand. He worked at the Strand, and they were letting him display some art. And she said, you might want to check this guy out. I think he's pretty good. And I gave him the words, Dami loves you, and the GFA flag, and a drawing of Dami, and he took it from there. And this is going to be this is one of the perks, and it's also in the book as a pinup page.
Awesome. So it's a poster.
Yep, mini poster. Now this is another depiction of her. This is done by Dave Barden. This is a comic within the comic, Tobbs Tales of the Police State. These are funky little depressing vignettes of what life is like in the police state. And there's very short stories. There's a 4-pager and a 2-pager, self-contained. And I guess if you're a fan of Fantagraphics and stuff like that, and you might think Rammur is kind of a guilty pleasure and you want to ease your guilt over enjoying pulp, you can turn to the back pages here and dip into the depressing stories of the Tales of the Police State.
Really quickly, I want to thank Get Over It in the chat. He says he is backer number 41, and thanks you for the free shipping.
Free shipping to where?
I'm assuming in the States.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been hearing horror stories about what people are paying to ship things around the world. Somebody told me that she shipped a single comic book to somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Germany, and it cost $63.
Jeez.
I tried to ship, 8 books?
Yeah, it was
8 books and 1 Gemini to Canada. from Maryland, and it tried to cost me $65. But we went through. There's a website called pirateship.com, and they give you like their corporate discount for the fact that they're a company. So they pass that savings on to you. So I went from $65 to like $22.
Pirate Ship?
Along those lines.
Yeah, .com.
One word?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pirateship.com.
Okay.
Once you start looking at, because you can look at all the different dimensions and ways, like we ended up sending it priority mail, bubble mailer, legal size to Canada.
It was a priority mail flat rate legal envelope.
Yeah.
International / Canada.
Now, did they help you figure that out?
Not really.
So how did you figure that out?
So you put in the size of your thing, and it will tell you basically what your shipping options are, and you go through the table and see what works best for you.
Okay.
Based on what you need. So we shipped the books, and we wanted some insurance on it, and we wanted tracking, and so that worked out the best. Stuffing the Gemini into a bubble mailer.
Well, and a Gemini mailer will fit into a legal size priority mailer. So if sending it priority USPS to another country is cheaper, then you need the legal size for a Gemini mailer. We basically just played around until we found something that would be a decent price, and that was the best price for us for that.
But your post office is not going to tell you that. They're going to charge you the $60-something.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
they are.
Yep.
Well, for the few people I have so far that are outside the USA, I'll have to do a little bit of homework.
Yep. Absolutely.
And if you need help, hit us up. We're happy
thank you.
to take a look at things and give
advice. This is my third campaign, but actually the first one where I knew what the hell I was doing, or had even close to any idea of what I was doing. And the learning curve, boy, is real steep, isn't it?
It is.
It took me. In fact, the reason I launched when I did was I had the Indiegogo loaded 6 months ago, and they contacted me and they said, if you don't launch in 6 months, we take it down.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess I'm launching.
Yeah, and it's 6 months from the time that you start, putting stuff together.
Yep.
Not even from when you launch your mailing list, but the second you hit, I want to create a campaign. That's when they start your 6 months.
Yeah, and I don't even remember how long it took me to figure out how to load everything in. One of the things that I could not figure out at all why it is this way, but putting pictures in pictures into certain features, they're too big. By too big, I mean they were cropping them, and so I had to put the images into the middle of a white space, so that when I loaded it in, the white space was gone.
Hold on 1 second. I'm about to go to it. I'm going to go off your campaign for a second.
Back page.
Isn't
it? If you scroll up, the fact page is up there.
Help and support.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on.
So they actually have on the Indiegogo page what the dimensions are for each of the sections on Indiegogo, so you can make sure that whatever you have is accurate to that what you want it to show.
I kind of remember looking at that, and
here we go.
Yeah, I do remember this page.
Mm-hmm. So the big difference that a lot of people don't realize, a lot of people will have for the body, they'll have it be a size that'll be good, and then they try to use those same images for your tiers, which is going to crop it wrong.
Yep.
And then take those and put them up on the top, which is also going to crop them wrong. And a lot of people don't pay attention to up there, so it'll just crop it randomly. And we've had people that have cropped like a 7 or 8 panel page, and it'll crop so you get the dead space in between, and you get like a third of the panel above and like a fourth of the panel below.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the main body, and this is the perks.
Yeah, I probably spent half the time that I was in there just resizing things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the trickiest things. But I will say your campaign page looks good.
Thank you. I spent enough time on it. This picture here is a possible cover for number 2. It was originally designed as a cover for number 2, but I'm probably not going to use it as the cover. Rammur is going to be fighting a lot of robots. It wasn't my intention all along, but it just kind of worked out that way because nothing says the future like robots. And Paulo's so good at designing them.
And what's really cool, I love that they're kind of, the style is very throwback. Because I'm a huge fan of classic sci-fi, and so seeing like even the kind of Rocketeer kind of
the hair look.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to see that thing on his head is functional. It has an actual. It comes off and it has another use. I gave Paulo no direction on this, except I said, take a look at the old Magnus Robot Fighter comic,
Mm-hmm.
the Gold Key comic. I said, don't imitate any of the designs there, but just look at those robots as an idea starter.
Yeah.
Right.
And he did a great job.
So based on the question in the chat, I'm just going to scroll up a little bit to where you talk about your pedigree in the world of comics.
You've been writing, editing, art directing, and packaging comics for 35 years. Good heavens.
Yeah, started with Marvel, writing Conan and some other stuff. And that was back when 100,000 copies was the borderline of cancellation. And I think now if you're 100,000 copies a month, you might be the number one comic.
You would by far be the number one comic.
Yeah.
I don't think they're coming close to those numbers anymore. All right, so do you want to go through the tiers?
Yeah, that won't take long. So you've got the 48-page comic, color comic, printed on newsprint, the way comics were intended to be printed, and it'll be signed by me. And that's the first tier, 48 pages plus color covers. Second
Awesome.
tier is the comic, signed by me, same comic, but with an original art sketch by Paulo, which is going to have to come from Brazil. So that'll be fun.
That's cool.
And that's signed by you, but sketched by him, correct?
It's signed. It actually will be signed by both of us.
Awesome.
That's really cool.
And then
$40.
the third tier is the comic with this mini poster, this propaganda poster, and it'll be ever so slightly smaller than the comic book, so we can fit it in the bag with the comic book.
Gotcha. The 6
So-
by
And
9.
that'll be signed by Matt Chick. He's in New York City, so that's easy.
Very cool. So I'm going to assume the answer to this is no, but is it possible to get the Dami Loves You propaganda poster as an add-on? So if I selected that I wanted the book and the sketch, that I could also still get the Dami poster?
Well, keep going. Yeah, that's the fourth tier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the fourth tier.
So he did make it simple, but included what he needed to include. Awesome.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I part of the simplicity of this was just my own sanity,
Okay.
and I figured, okay, I'll make a virtue out of this. Counter programming. So many of these campaigns I see, I can't even figure out the tiers. And I'm finally done looking at all the tiers, and oh yeah, there's a comic book too.
I always hate it when I see a tier that I like, and then 7 or 8 tiers later, I see another one, and I go, "Wait, what was the first one?"
Yeah,
It's like, what's
yeah.
the difference?
Yep. And the whole concept of the comic, I think, is very simple and easy to grasp, easy to understand. And sometimes I watch these streams and I watch people talking about their comics. So give us the pitch, right? And they start talking. They don't even seem to understand what their own comic is about.
Yeah. All right, so you are 179% of your goal, and I'm assuming you did a 500 flex goal because the book's done. It's coming out no matter
Yeah,
what.
it's all done, completely done, and I also want to go in demand. But
Fair.
the offering or offerings in demand will be different than what is in the tiers.
Right.
So the probably what it's going to be, the comic will be there, the poster will be there, and a bunch of fan club type merchandise. So it'll
cool.
probably be one big package, and it'll probably have the flag patch, probably a flag pin, probably a fan club membership card, and a button.
That's awesome.
All of which is already designed. And
That
if I
is
get
awesome.
if I get 10 more backers, I can afford to print this thing without dipping any more into my bank account.
10 more backers. That's not bad. You got 9
No.
days left.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, if you're going to put a merch pack up in demand, I'm probably backing for the sketch and the mini poster, and then I'll probably back again for the merch pack.
Yeah. Now I don't want the sketch to be part of the in demand, and the reason for that is I can't do the onesies from Brazil.
Right.
Right. Yeah, the shipping would kill you.
I
That's
just
way too
can't.
expensive.
I can't do that. So I
Okay,
figure.
so in other words, if you want a sketch, you need to get it now. Otherwise,
Unless you want
to.
hey, look, if you come to me when this is in demand, say I really want a sketch, and whatever it costs to get it from Brazil, then fine. But it's not going to be a off the shelf item. It'll be a
It's
talk
not
to
going to be
me.
$60.
Talk to me separate. Yeah.
So in other words, if you're listening and you want a sketch, get it now. You have 9 days. If you wait too long, you're going to be screwed.
Yeah, but like I said, if people come to me later and they say, I really want Paulo to do some art for me, okay, yeah, well, we'll find out what he's going to charge and then what the Brazil post office is going to charge, and that's what it'll cost. It's probably cheaper to ship from Brazil to the United States than the reverse.
Probably. So the other question that I did have is what Get Over It had said in the chat about it being free shipping to the U.S. Is that is intentional?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and
Fantastic.
that's for all the tiers, and that's why the tiers are priced the way they are, so that it can include the comic, it can include getting it signed, and no matter what the tier is, and I at first I was wondering, how many people are going to buy a comic for a 48-page comic for $18, but people are very willing to support something like this to make sure it gets out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't see these kind of stories or this kind of stylized art really in the mainstream at this point, so...
Or really anywhere else. I don't see independent comics that look like this, and it's an advantage, but it also can be something that, maybe a disadvantage, because, it's out there all by itself, which is great, but on the other hand, you can't say, well, it's kind of like this, and it's kind of like that. Well, no, it really isn't like that or like this. A lot of times when people give their pitch, they say, well, it's kind of a combination of this and that. Two things they mention that everybody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with this. So that's why the pitch is 7 words, so that you can get it all by itself and figure out what it is without having to refer to anything else.
Well, while it may not be like anything else out there that people are necessarily familiar with, it seems like a really interesting premise.
Well,
It's almost like a Robin Hood story, except he's maybe a little bit less Robin Hood.
Well,
rob from the rich and give to me.
Somebody else mentioned that on a stream, and I made a reference to the Mel Brooks 2,000-Year-Old Man routines. Have you ever heard those?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, the bit is Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks had this comedy routine where Mel Brooks was a 2,000-year-old man, And so obviously he knew a lot of things, and Carl Reiner would ask these questions, and the answers were very funny, right? So one of the questions was, I understand you knew Robin Hood. Did he really steal from the rich and give to the poor? And the 2,000-year-old man says, nah, he stole from everybody and he kept everything. Well, that's Rammur.
Nice.
And the only reference you can make here to anything that's out there in comics is the art style is very consciously reminiscent of the animated stuff that DC did in the 90s, particularly Batman. Those comics are fantastic.
Right, and this really has an interesting kind of spin on it. So we have a question from Get Over It. He says, how many issues do you have planned currently?
As many as I can afford to do for as long as I live. That's as simple as that. The second one is almost done. The third one is underway, art-wise, and I just started writing the main story for the fourth one. So just going to keep going. It says here, when are you looking into shipping? October. It's done, and I figured October would be easy to hit.
Right.
Even if I have some issues with the printer. And the other reason October is a goal is because I want to bring it to the New York Con.
Hell yeah. That'd be awesome. I like Silver's comment there where he says, what the heck, 9 days left and under 1K?
Yeah, I saw that.
This is an anti-hero versus a tyrannical state. This should be much more popular.
Well, part of what I see in terms of successful campaigns is that regardless of the product the people have, they have eyes on them. They have an audience. They have people who are paying attention to them. And my pre-launch was, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, whatever. There's really, you can just keep going with a pre-launch.
Oh, yeah.
And I am garnering a bit of a core fan base, which is great. But, as anybody who's done this will tell you, you spend about 5 to 10 times as much time promoting yourself as you do actually creating something.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way it's done.
Well, and just like Silver and Undead Ramen have said, and that's something that Cy and I both had said, is that this has a very Batman the Animated Series kind of feel to it. And that was one of my absolute favorite shows to watch. It was some of the best storytelling. And
gritty, striking visuals.
Well, I'll tell you a funny anecdote about that show. I have 2 daughters, both married, approximately 30 years old, and their husbands approximately the same age. Now, my girls were brought up with The Simpsons, but their husbands' parents wouldn't let them watch The Simpsons because it was supposedly a bad influence, but they let them watch Batman.
Nice.
So they don't know The Simpsons at all, but they know the Batman cartoons inside and out. The dark, gritty, violent Batman cartoons.
So we had a question in the chat from Get Over It, who loves the original art aspect of investing in comics. Were you thinking about selling anything, like the covers, the pages, anything like that?
I don't own any of it. That's up to the artists. If somebody wants to contact me and says they're interested in something they see in it, I'll reach out to the artist. But I don't even know. I don't even know what their techniques are. So I don't even know if there is any original one.
Oh, if it's digital or physical.
I have
Gotcha.
I have no clue how these people are working.
So that's always something that might be good to consider if you can get your artist or any of your cover artists to agree to do traditional pieces that you then could sell on the campaign, and whether you do like a 50-50 split of whatever the profit is, or I know people that have done where they sell it on the campaign page and the entire profit goes to the artist. So however you would be comfortable doing it.
Yeah, I would think that anybody interested in that would probably be okay with a dead-on recreation. Let's say the page was digital. Redo the page.
Yeah, as long as your artist is okay with that.
Or the artist can print it and then like embellish the ink and the color and stuff like that. We see you doing that a lot.
Right. So whatever is possible, that's what would be pitched to the collector, and would say, okay, the artist is willing to do this page. It's going to look exactly the way it looks in the comic, except black and white original art. Are you okay with that? And this is what he's going to charge.
Well,
and
so
I wouldn't take anything more than maybe a handling fee for that.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from, because you want to make sure that the artist is getting the benefit of it.
Yeah, because these guys they're doing all the work. It's my idea. I had a post recently where I said, look, I am the co-creator. Was it my idea? Yeah, on paper. But it's not a comic until it's drawn. And yeah, did I give the artist a description of the kind of thing I was looking for? Yes. But until it's designed and on paper, it's not real. So I actually have 3 artists that worked on the design over the years. The first one was Joe Staten, quite some time ago. And then it was handed off to a guy who worked for Valiant in the 90s named Andrew Wendell. And then all of that was given to Paulo Perez, and he did his thing. So the presumably final design of Rammur is Paulo Perez's visual treatment. And would any of this have happened without me? No, but it also wouldn't have happened without the artist drawing things.
I just wanted to mention real quick that we also had another contribution in the chat, and you're
Excellent.
that much closer to $1,000.
This is this is great. Excellent.
Yay. Get Over It says bring the artist to the RV auction.
If you want to reach out to Brazil to try to coordinate that.
Yeah,
we'll talk. I'm still recovering from the auction from last weekend.
Well, you have till September, I think.
Yeah, we got some time. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to let us know about Rammur before we wrap?
Well, let me look at my talking points here. I think we've covered it all. Let's see.
John also says, contributor number 43, this is why I have no budget to promote my own stuff.
We hear you, John.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We understand, John.
Oh, yeah, very important. I have a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
My publisher is Marcosia. They're based in the UK. They're the largest independent publisher in the UK. Mm-hmm. And this is digitally available right now on Comixology and Drive-Thru Comics. And when the collection comes out, it'll probably be the first 2 or 3 issues, and that'll be available both digitally and in print through Marcosia on Amazon and elsewhere. I will make sure that there are things in the first 3 issues that are not in the collection, and vice versa. I'm going to make sure there are things in the collection that are not in the first 3 issues. So you got to have it all, of course. Mm-hmm. And I asked Marcosia, I said, look, I'd really like to do a print version of this. And how do you feel about that? And they said, go ahead, do it, and do whatever you want, and distribute it however you want, because it's good publicity for the digital and good publicity for the eventual collection. And I'm thrilled. The reason this is happening is because my publisher, and this is the 3rd project that I've done with this publisher, has allowed this. And this is the best relationship that I've ever had with a publisher. Harry Marcos runs Marcosia, and I've talked to a number of people who are published by him, and nobody has anything except great things to say about this publisher and this guy Harry Marcos. He's been behind me 100%. So
That's awesome.
It's important to mention Marcosia. So I'm kind of a hybrid. I mean, I'm independent, but I have a publisher.
Right.
No, but see, that's great, because we don't typically get that kind of a positive reaction when people have publishers. Usually the publishers want exclusivity and they don't want you to do anything else with it, and they own it for a certain amount of time, and I hate those deals, because that hurts the artist, that hurts the writer, the contributors, and it only benefits the publisher. So the fact that you have a publisher that's like, no, we have the digital, go nuts.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to for print.
I was kind of stunned when they mentioned that. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Yeah, self-contained stories, no origin, no backstory.
Awesome.
We just drop you right in.
Really quickly, I wanted to mention, I put this link in the chat earlier and I've just done it again. The link that you have at the bottom of the page
Yeah.
for art samples, the perks, and Rammur number 0 for free at the link you provide in the campaign.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll
Go
get
check
you
it
on I'll get you on my emailing list, and it'll get you the free Rammur number 0, and also a couple of newsletters I did that mostly the newsletters are about my process. They're interesting and they're free, and they're part of the being in the fan club. The fan club is called the Rammur Early Adopters Fan Club, and eventually that'll turn into the Rammur Thick as Thieves Fan Club.
Really quickly, another contributor. Thank you, Lloyd Burton. Contributor 44. You're now $4 away from $1,000.
Yeah, and if this is going to probably be the most backers I've gotten from a stream so far. So
Awesome.
That's pretty good. If we got a little bit more time, do we have a little bit more time?
Sure.
Yeah. Let me read the synopsis, the blurb for the story that's in the first issue, so people know exactly what the story is about. A museum heist gone wrong, 2 thieves dead, Rammur's fusion gear damaged. The target of the break-in, a banned object to art, destroyed. But that's just the beginning of Rammur's problems, because one of his colleagues is a police informant. Can Rammur figure out who's tipping off the cops before he finds himself in a Global Freedom Authority labor camp? So that's the kind of heist stories people are going to get here.
I'm just hoping it's not her.
I'm not saying, but you'll be well pleased.
You're not saying, but wink.
Yeah. And I'd like to read the Rammur Manifesto.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you think testosterone is a kind of poison, if you think macho is a dirty word, then Rammur is not for you. But if you want stories that make your pulse race, stories that grip and delight you, stories with beginnings, middle, and endings, self-contained stories that give you the fix you need, stories told visually the way the gods of comics intended, stories about a criminal so clever the police state will never nail him, a thief so cold he'll freeze your blood, then, you guessed it, you want Rammur. Rammur, no man can stop him. Rammur, no woman can resist him. Rammur, no prize can daunt him.
I love it.
So if that scares you away, you see, I just don't want people to. I want people to know what they're getting themselves into.
That's fair.
And if this is going to offend their sensibilities, then they need to move on.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to show this. My co-host, now that I've freed up her ability to use her phone, appears to have gone and backed your campaign.
Well, thank you very much.
To the tune of, I'm going to guess, $60 exact dollars here for the sketch and the poster and the comic.
Well, apparently she's not afraid of a little testosterone.
I hope not.
Not at all. Not in the least. No, the thing that I really like is not only does this totally have that Batman the Animated Series vibe to me, and it's a fun heist story, and he's like an anti-hero and all of that. I love that you're doing self-contained stories, because I forget everything that's happened when somebody leaves me with a cliffhanger and then I have to wait a year for their next book. It drives me nuts. And so then I get the second book and I have to go back and read the first and go first, second. I'm like, okay. And then the next year goes by and it's all right, first, second, third, read again, because I don't remember what happened.
Well, as Stan Lee used to say, every comic is somebody's first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the first 3 stories are going to be loosely connected, because the guy who's hired Rammur is, you never see him in the first story. You'll see him in the second, and then you won't see him in the third, but he's kind of behind the scenes in all 3 stories. I might spend a paragraph bringing you up to date on what happened previously, but you don't really have to have read any of the stories to read any of the stories. It's kind of a very, very, very loose trilogy of stories, and it was not planned that way. It just kind of worked out that way as I wrote the first 3 stories.
Right, and I did see that you mentioned in the campaign that these were basically self-contained stories, so it's not going to leave you on some kind of crazy cliffhanger for months.
No, and the more money people throw at me, the faster these things are going to get produced. So the more money that number 1 makes, the faster number 2 will come out. But it is done. 2 is done. 1's done. 2 is when I say 2 is done, the 34-page lead story in number 2 is done. And the 4-page backup story is done, but it's going to be a 48-page book, so it's not quite done. But number 1, completely done. Number 1 is published. Number 1, you can buy the digital right now.
Very cool. Well, this looks amazing, and in all honesty, if you're watching and this even looks remotely interesting to you, you definitely should go and back, because this looks like it's going to be a really fun story. And Charles seems like a wonderful person.
And not only that, but some of the stuff is going away when it goes in demand. So don't forget that, folks.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. Limited time offer.
And getting involved now gives you bragging rights, something I've mentioned in a few Facebook posts, meaning that years from now, when the rest of the world is catching up with Rammur, you'll be able to say, I've been on top of this for 5 years. Yeah.
I got in on the ground floor.
Yeah, where have you been? Look at my flag patch.
Exactly. Yeah. I got the patch. Where have you been? Did you not see my pin over here? Good hell. Well, Charles, thank you so much for hanging out with us and for talking about Rammur, because this has been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Even without the backers, it would have been fantastic.
Well, we're happy that we got you a boost going into almost your last week.
Yes.
Very good. And I think you might have set the record for backers that I can attribute to a single stream.
Well,
awesome.
That makes us happy.
It does. We will happily take that accolade.
Yep. And I'll keep you guys in my sights.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you're ready to bring number 2 to Indiegogo, we'd be happy to launch you. Just let us know.
All right.
Thank you, everyone who's been hanging out in the chat. Thank you, everybody who backed. You guys are phenomenal. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be able to do this. And thanks, Charles, for hanging out.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you guys in a little bit when we do Regen at 8:30 tonight. So we'll see you in about 2.5 hours.
Bye.
Bye.